Hi, my name's Jacqueline, and I chose from the Public Health On Call podcast to do modeling the Omicron wave. And I chose this one because I actually just recently, the New Year's, is when I got the Omicron COVID. And hadn't got COVID this whole time during the pandemic, and I ended up getting this strand. And I'm fully vaccinated, but I was going to get my booster right before that, before I came back to school, and I'm getting COVID. And this, that's why I got drawn to doing it, just to understand more about what I had and what's going on and how we're trying to fix this new strand, since we have so many strands and some vaccines only protect against some, and how we're gonna deal with this new strand and what happens if we have another one and just all that stuff. This podcast included Dr. Truelove, and he's an infectious disease epidemiologist. And he just first started discussing modeling the Omicron and how that, like, even if people are vaccinated, they're not really protected from this Omicron strand because it's new, and when they made the vaccine, it wasn't for the strand, it was for the Delta. And I think that's why a lot of people now are getting COVID. But they also discussed that at some point, people getting COVID and not having those super high, scary disease symptoms, but getting more of the flu and the cold symptoms that most people get from the Omicron is going to end up protecting them in the long run, because you're going to be in that technically 90-day of protection for that immunity. So they believe that this wave will pass faster because more people are going to get it. And it's not supposed to cause as much harm as other strands, because hopefully most people are vaccinated, so they will only be getting the lower symptoms of it and understand that. He also discussed the predictions that are going to be coming from Omicron. He believes that by this time next year, it should be almost as a flu or cold instead of treating it as this big, scary COVID pandemic. But it's not helping that the Omicron, most of the time, is coming up as people are asymptomatic, or the symptoms are just like cold, so no one's thinking about it. And then we're going back to work and we're not getting tested because we believe it's just a cold or stress or anything like that. So that's what also makes it harder. And questions that I have with it is, how are we supposed to make a new vaccine? Is the booster gonna come? It's gonna be hard to predict if more strands are gonna come. Like, every time we get a strand, are we just supposed to make a new vaccine? Or it's more of, when is this gonna end? People have more questions on why is there more strands, what is going on, when is it going to end. So I feel like those are my biggest questions after you're listening to the podcast, is if we can't stop these strands, how do we know that more strands are going to come? The podcast did challenge me socially because I know in today's day everyone has different opinions on COVID and if they believe in it or if the vaccine works. And it's hard to be in college and be a public health major and then, for example, go home, and where my town, most of them aren't really vaccinated. They think that, oh, it's not that bad, like, we'll just suffer through it like a cold, when it can really affect people that have the underlying diseases. I know, like, my parents have the underlying diseases, and that's why I'm vaccinated. A lot of my family members are vaccinated, but this new Omicron wave is now, well, are we supposed to go back into hiding because this vaccine isn't going to protect us from it? Or do we all need the booster? Or all that unknown questions that are super worrying for everyone in society. And that is my podcast discussion on the managing Omicron wave.